There have been a couple of signings that the Manchester United fans have been really happy about. They've been really attacking signings. They're looking for goals. That was an issue last season. Have they got enough now in the squad to really improve from last season, and how far can it take them?
Yeah, I was thinking that before about Ekitike. We shouldn't take for granted what he's done in this last couple of weeks, that kid. He's 22 when we say that people need time to settle in. But there are a lot of very good players who've come into this league who've gone straight for it straight away and started scoring. And then Birmingham, Cunha, Šeško, a lot of eyes on them at Manchester United. I think Manchester United fans, including myself, are surprised that the club have gone and spent that level of money. We thought, obviously, after the Europa League final, that the money wouldn't be there at that level. So to get those three players who look like a really good profile, two of them have got Premier League experience. We need them to do well. We need those three players to do well, because the rest of the team, look, we need a goalkeeper. There's definitely, obviously, issues with the defence and midfield. But if the three strikers are a real handful and scoring goals, last season United's return in front of goal was really poor. So it's really important that Šeško and Birmingham Cunha get off to a really good start. We've seen a Liverpool striker do that tonight. There's no reason why United strikers can't go and do that on Sunday.
If they start, is it Šeško against Gyökeres?
I think it's fascinating, the fact that Ekitike, Wirtz, Pedro, Delap, Gyökeres, Šeško, these players all go into big clubs. How are they going to do? We're not quite sure, are we? Obviously, Ekitike tonight has given us a little bit of a glimpse of what he's like. But there is pressure on all those players to deliver for Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool. They have to deliver. The main man at City, obviously, Haaland, we know he's going to score goals. But who of those rest are going to emerge to become maybe a world-class player?
So what's a good season for Manchester United?
I think top six would be a good season. I think the four at the top, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, I think would be difficult to challenge, but they could slip into that space where Newcastle, Tottenham, Villa, other clubs are. So I think in that fifth place would be absolutely amazing. Realistically, I think it's probably going to be between sixth and eighth, but I think fifth is what they have to really target.
Aim for fifth and potentially end up between sixth and eighth. Do you think that's realistic for Manchester United?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people will look where they finished last season and say, oh, that's a huge jump. But then you think of some of the teams who were up in those positions all last season. Nottingham Forest were fighting relegation this season before. Brentford were up there for a lot of the season. Bournemouth were up there for a lot of the season. When you look at those teams and those squads, they haven't got better players than Manchester United. But I think the manager's still got a lot to prove. I do. I think he's had about 40 games now, which is a decent run, in terms of sort of trying to get his message across. And it didn't quite happen at all. And I can't get that sort of, final out my head, really, about how poor they were in that game. So I think he's almost got a lot to prove as well, because Manchester United, no matter what set of players they've got on the pitch, they shouldn't finish. Was it 15th that they finished last season? So Man United's squad of players and the expenditure, whoever the manager, that squad of players shouldn't be finishing that position. So I don't think 6th, 7th is completely, out of the question, because as I said, they've spent what they always do, 250 million in the summer.
Is there patience amongst the Manchester United fans,
skint,
or do they have to? They've saved a lot of money. Do they have to start fast?
No, United fans are patient in the sense that they turn up every single week, and they have done for 26 years without winning the league, and the stadium's full. They're incredibly loyal. They're very loyal also to their managers. They'll support Amorim. Sometimes they can get a little bit disillusioned with the players if they feel like that heart and that spirit and that fight's not there. I don't think you can say that in this last 12 to 18 months. That's not been the problem. I think the problem has been the quality. The lack of quality in terms of the players, particularly in forward areas, is just nowhere near good enough. Now, if they correct that and start scoring goals, you become obviously a lot harder team to beat. Yeah, there is a problem in central midfield. It doesn't look like Bruno Fernandes has got the right partner at this moment in time. And then obviously you've got the goalkeeper. So there's things that I think he'd still want to change. It's quite a unique system. I think it was always going to take some time to get used to it. I was hoping that, to be fair, I said at the time it would suit some of these players, give them a stronger base, because there isn't really a pair of centre-backs there that can play in a four. So I thought it would suit them, but it didn't do, and it ended up being a real sort of challenge for them. They've looked better in pre-season. The fans will always be patient, but I think that ultimately they need to get a decent start, and they've got a few tough fixtures in this first few games. I actually feel quite confident about them on Sunday. I think they'll give a really good performance. I think it's a big day. And Arsenal, Arsenal have got to go and win. I agree with Jamie. I think Arsenal are the team really that have got to go and challenge Liverpool this season.
Must be some sort of encouragement somewhere along the line that maybe the player might think, you know what, I might be open to that move. But that is completely separate here to what Brighton's position would be, because even if Carlos Baleba just say he did want to go to Manchester United, Brighton can just say, well, you're not going anywhere. You've got 3 years left on your contract. We've got a year's option. And if we are to let you go, then it's going to be over £100 million. And people will say, well, you can compare that to the Alexander Isak situation. And so why are people saying, well, it's still potentially going to happen to Liverpool? Because we haven't really heard of any disunity or disharmony with regard to Carlos Baleba at Brighton.
No,
That's
those
the
are
big
very
difference.
distinct in that respect. Yeah,
that's the big difference.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when you look at the amount of money spent, you know, Liverpool have spent almost £300 million. That's without Isak, if it does happen. Chelsea have spent around £250 million. Manchester United up until this point, £214 million. But, you know, they want to be competing, especially given the fact that Liverpool and United are currently on 20 top-flight titles each, and they sense that Liverpool might get back on the perch if this spending continues that they can't keep up with. But on the point of sort of, it's not a one-window fix, Darmish, I mean, Carragher, I wonder about this. Harry Maguire said in a recent interview that United were mentally weak in the past. And how much do you think that these new signings and things like, for example, the refreshed training ground might add to a sense of rebirth, renewal at Manchester United to try and change things culturally as well? That sort of wider context piece, I guess.
I think, look, what Manchester United have to do is back Ruben Amorim, which is exactly what they're doing, and give him as much time as possible, because there's been too much chopping and changing of managers, too many managers buying different players which haven't worked out. Now, sitting here, it's been a good summer for Manchester United, but we don't know how these signings are going to work out. Not every signing works out the way you think it's going to work out. For instance, when United signed Jadon Sancho, you know, a lot of people were very excited about the impact he was going to have, or Anthony, or Højlund. You know, in the transfer market, you're going to have hits and misses. Now, on paper, it looks like the three forwards they've signed are all going to be hits. And if you're a United fan, you'll be thinking, Ruben Amorim's got it right this time, Jason Wilcox got it right, Jim Ratcliffe's got it right. We need to get behind the team. But remember, United are not going to be challenging for the title this season. The aim is just to get back into Europe. It's going to take a few steps, and it's going to take quite a few transfer windows as well. I think if you're a United fan, you just want a big improvement on last season, and you want to see United playing, attacking and defending in the way that United fans are used to seeing their teams play and perform.
Yeah, and at least in terms of the incomings, you know, it looks like it is shaping up that way, and we will discuss.
Like Garnacho, I think, is well below what United are looking for.
OK, potential incomings at Chelsea. What about outgoings at Manchester United, Darmish?
Yeah, Carlo mentioned Alejandro Garnacho. The other ones, the high-profile ones, Rasmus Højlund. Ruben Amorim says that Højlund is part of the squad looking for this weekend against Arsenal. He is open to a move to AC Milan, is Rasmus Højlund, but he's not fully convinced yet. Talks have taken place between Milan and Højlund's representatives, and they are waiting now for the green light from Højlund to really push with Manchester United to try and get that deal over the line. As for Jadon Sancho, we know that Roma have made a £20 million bid to Manchester United to sign him. Roma are now speaking to Jadon Sancho's representatives to tell them about the project and also the terms of a contract. Again, if they are given encouragement that Sancho would be open to the move, then Roma would then push with Manchester United to try and generate a deal between the two clubs before, hopefully for them, if they want him, signing Jadon Sancho.
All right.
Yes. As soon as United's front three are out of the game, the four Arsenal players will only have two midfielders to get through, and one of them, Fernandes, is not in the side for his defensive contribution. So a tweak may well be needed. In Amorim's first game in charge of United, at Ipswich last November, it was clear he was having to direct players to take up the positions he wanted. There was some confusion, he said later, and that confusion is still present in some phases of games. With United out of Europe this season, they will only play one game per week, and that will mean more time on the training pitch for Amorim and his players. This is important not only for integrating new players into the setup but also so Amorim can do more of his detailed tactical walkthroughs. Players are physically moved into specific positions for phases with and without the ball. It is vital his messaging now translates into games. The thing I like the most is now there's going to be no excuses, Diogo Dalot, one of the newly appointed six-man leadership group, said last week. Ultimately, the thing that will define us is what we do on the pitch. I think what is going to bring joy to the fans, joy to ourselves, is winning games.